The second wave of Dark Vision units are here, guys. We're going over Bahamut Fina, as well as, I like to call him Deva Akstar, but it's Deva Akstar, Asura Akstar, as you may know of him. Today we have two stronger damage dealers once again with these Esper units. There's going to be 4 more Esper units on the way, I would say within a month or two. I know you guys are going to ask that down below, so I'm going to answer it now so you don't have to ask, but if you want to, feel free to go down there and ask when I think the next 4 Esper units are coming out, and we'll get onto that train soon. I'm looking forward to those Esper units. You guys already know the one I want the most, but we're going into more Brave Exvius content once again for you guys. It's an exciting time out there. You haven't seen the new Neo Vision announcement that I put out the other day. Go ahead and check that out, and then tomorrow we should have actual information on what it is and what we could be seeing for that. So let me know how you feel about these Esper units. Let me know how you feel about the Neo Vision thing. I'm really trying to get everyone's thoughts collected on that, but let's go head over there and start with our first unit, who's going to be Bahamut Fina. So Draconian Princess Fina here is going to be a very powerful magic damage dealer. It does say her job is white mage, but that is the biggest lie you will see in the game here. She does have a little bit of supportive healing capabilities, but she's here majority of the time doing damage for your party. Her TMR here is going to be Bahamut Synergy, a very interesting TMR. Gives you 40% magic, as well as increasing the stats you gain from having Bahamut equipped by 30%. It's not that big of a deal. You get a little bit of extra stats for having Bahamut equipped, but the vast majority of the time you're going to go for a different Esper that has an appropriate killer on. So not only is the stat bonus not that big of a deal, most of the time you're not really going to be using Bahamut anyway. There might be some times where you have enough killer with just like the 50% that Bahamut gives you, because you have some super TMRs for specific killers for your mages, but a lot of the times it's really hard to get a lot of killer for mages, so you're using the Espers that give you 75 or 125% killer. So a lot of time you're not getting that. But the interesting part here is that Bahamut Synergy cast every turn. You cannot stack this effect, this auto cast, on a character, but you can spread these on throughout your team. So if you have a 7-star Draconian Princess Fina, you can pick up a couple of these, and you should, because what it does is it gives you 2 or more Evo Gauge crystals every turn. It automatically fills your Evo Gauge crystals, so you can put this on different party members, right? 1 on Fina, maybe 1 on support. And if you get like a 3rd one from having like a 3rd copy of Fina down the road, you put that on another character, you can start filling up your Evo Gauge every turn without trying. And she does use Evo Gauge, but it's to unlock basically her damage dealing skill. She's not really a summoner of sorts. She has summon abilities, but that's not where her damage really comes from. Her STMR here is the Draconian Princess's Pulse here. 2-handed bow, has 178 magic on it, and has the effect of imbued with the Dragon King's Might, which increases Bahamut's summon damage by 50%. Once again, won't use this a lot of the time. Her magic damage dealing is just incredibly powerful, but if you are going for like a summon Bahamut strategy, this could be something that you come forward with in the future to chain finish like Bahamut, to do non-elemental evoke damage on like a super high tanky spirit target with low HP. Could be a thing. A lot of the times you won't be doing that there. As far as the STMR itself, for the raw stats, it could be good, but if you have dual wield capabilities, you can fit this character with a bunch of dual wield. You're going to go true dual wield magic if you have the TMR/super TMRs for that. Otherwise, it could be pretty powerful for her, but likely you could just put a rod on her and it wouldn't be that big of a deal, or another bow of your choice. So going in here, equipment selection, she can wear rods, she can wear staves, bows, whips, and maces. Armor selection, robes, as well as light armor and hats. So let's get into her skill selection here. And she has a couple of big skills that we're going to go over. We're going to be skipping some of the minor ones, or giving you the slight details on them as it were. So she has Prime Cure, which does a little bit of damage. It chains Chaos Wave Awaken, but you're going to use this skill if you want to cure all status ailments to all allies. A lot of the time you guys aren't going to really care about that, but she does have Cure Status Ailments. She has a little bit of MP regen for your party, 50 right away and 150 split over 3 turns, and this does also increase your Evo Gauge by 1 to 2. This is Manitopia Bahamut. She can dual cast any magic except blue magic, but a lot of the times you're not going to be doing that, but she does have some magic that you can use for supportive aspects. We have Dystopia Bahamut, which is LB Gauge 3 to 4 increase, won't be casting the skill a lot of the times. We have Divine Veil for the light and dark increase. We have Flare of Light. This unlocks a light Mega Flare. It also is an 80% light imperil. She also has Flare of Shadow for a dark imperil of 80%, which unlocks Shadow Mega Flare, which we will go and talk about later on. These are some of her better skills to use late Mega Flare, and Shadow Mega Flare. She has double Lotus Magic, which allows her to cast 2 of any of her Draconian Princess skills. Now moving into her 7-star form, Dragon King's Rage, her Big Imperil skill, 120% Light and Dark Imperil for 3 turns to all enemies. It also does give you 100 MP per turn for 3 turns. It also is going to do the very important effect of increasing your Evil Gauge by 5 each turn for the next 3 turns. So you're going to cast a skill, get the Imperil, next turn 5 Evil Gauge, the turn after that 5 Evil Gauge, the turn after that 5 Evil Gauge. Now her Evil Gauge consuming skills are these skills right here, Arc Punisher Burst and Dystopia Burst. These do use 100% of your magic stat. There's no spirit scaling with these, so it's 100% of your magic stat, and it is a 40 times multiplier. That is good, but remember, these are evil skills, so you're not going to have the effect of any killers whatsoever for them. These use specifically evil magic, and her best damage dealing skills are actual magic skills that do use killers. So when you're gearing this character, you're not really going to be focusing on the evo damage portion of Bahamut Fina. You're focusing on magic. You're focusing on whatever the proper killer is for her damage, and that's where you're going to be getting the damage. You're using these skills literally to unlock the triple Lotus magic 99% of the time in most circumstances. Now, Dragon King's Roar is her final skill. It's a cooldown skill, 3-turn cooldown, available on turn 3, 70 times multiplier, Chaos Wave Awakened Chaining Frame Family. And it does give a 6 times mod increase to Flare of Light and Flare of Shadow, and a 5 times mod increase to Light Mega Flare and Shadow Mega Flare. So here we go down here with her passives to see what she has access to for True Dual Wield / True Double Hand. She has 50% True Dual Wield, so not a whole lot of True Dual Wield, but she does have base Dual Wield. So unlike a lot of the other mages, guys, who have like 100% or 150% in some circumstances true dual wield, but they don't have a way to actually normally dual wield. You have to give it to them with Quintessence or Genji Glove or something like that. She actually does have the availability to just naturally dual wield, which saves you a materia slot, or it saves you an accessory slot. So if you have, your Ravenhearts floating around, your Nagi STMRs, or if you have that true dual wield gear, she is a good target for those pieces of equipment. Her only passive that gets a benefit from having a bow equipped is HP plus 30 and Magic plus 30. Outside of that, she doesn't really care about having any certain weapon equipped. On top of that, she does get a variety of passives, Magic 50, Magic 20, Attack Defense, Magic and Spirit 30, MP plus 60%, and she does have 150% True Double Hand Magic as well. So if you can't do the True Dual Wield thing, you don't have the gear for it, she does have a lot of the True Double Hand Magic in here for you before you can, get access to some of these stronger True Dual Wield magic gear, accessories, materia, etc. available in the game. So she's a very strong True Double Hand or True Dual Wield character. As far as killers go, she has 100% Beast in Undead Killer, and she gets a multiplier increase to Light Mega Flare and Shadow Mega Flare of 5, as well as Flare of Light and Flare of Shadow by 6. As far as defensive passive, she has Light and Dark Resist 20%. She's immune to Confusion, as well as Silence. And then, like we said before, she has natural dual wield, 50% LB damage, not that big of a deal. LB 4 per turn, High Tide, not that big of a deal. And she also gets 12% MP recovery per turn here. And lastly, but not least, she gets Bahamut Aid at the start of the battle. So let's talk about Bahamut Aid first. She is going to have a full LB gauge right away as you start the fight. So that's very strong there. And then on top of that, let's talk about Light Mega Flare and Shadow Mega Flare. These are going to be some of your bigger damage dealing skills. As you can see, Light Mega Flare is going to be Chaos Wave Awakened, just like Shadow Mega Flare. The first 7 hits, 12 times mod. That final hit, 35 times multiplier there. Same thing for Shadow Mega Flare. Instead of it being Light Element, it's going to be Dark Element, and then both of them give you 1 to 2 Evogation Cage Crystal. She gets triple Lotus Magic, like we talked about before, from her 2 evil skills up here. Dystopia Burst and Arc Punisher Burst are her 2 skills that give her triple cast her abilities. So pretty big deal in the long run. You want to be able to get those 5 Evo Gauge crystals every couple of turns. That's not that big of a deal. Remember, we talked about her materia. So if you have her materia on and some other materia on of hers on another character, and you have like a friend, Draconian Princess Fina or something of those natures, you're going to be start getting up to 6, 7, 8 of these Esper Gauge crystals every turn. You're definitely going to be able to hit the 5 for each of them, so 10 total every 4 turns. No big deal to keep her triple cast up full time. As far as magic goes, she has full life, she has re-raise, she has Kiraja, she has Dispelga, she has a Sunaga. She even has Libra out there for you book hunters and book collectors. So she does have the white mage necessities, but she's not really a healer. She's a big magic damage dealing character. And then her limit burst here is Mega Flare Laser. She does start with this, and it's going to do 44 times multiplier. Nothing crazy, right? She does have a little bit of LB damage, but you're not building her for an LB character. You're building her for magic. You're building her for killers. Don't worry about maxing out her LB damage. What you'd use this for is for the 250% magic buff that lasts for 11 turns, and it also fully fills your Evo gauge by 10. So it maxes it out from 0 right away to full, so you can start doing that. And you can even use a Mega Flare Laser if you want as soon as turn 1, because she does start with her limit burst, as we saw with Bahamut's Aid. So how strong is she? She's very powerful. How do you use her? Very easy, very simply. It depends on how much Evo Gauge crystals you can generate right away. But in general, you know, you're going to start out, you're going to want to use Dragon King's Rage. Just put your 120% light and dark apparel up. It's going to give you a little bit of MP regeneration as well. And then after that, you're going to have access to one other skill of your choice. If you somehow have access to the 5 Evo Gauge crystals, which you could, right? If you have Summer Parasols on your team, if you have her TMR on a couple of your units, then you're going to have access to that. You're going to go on turn 1, Dragon King's Rage, Arc Punisher Burst, or Dystopia Burst, whichever one that you want to unlock triple cast for next turn. And then after you do that, you can go right on ahead and go ahead and use a Flare of Shadow or a Flare of Light if you want to do that too. Or you can do a different opener where if you don't care about the Dragon King's Rage, you don't care about the Light and Dark Apparel, you can go ahead and do the unlock triple cast on turn 1, unlock Light or Shadow Mega Flare on turn 1, and then you can go ahead and start triple casting your Light or Shadow Mega Flare on turn 2. Or on top of that, if you don't have any of this extra stuff where you can't unlock triple Lotus Magic on turn 1, you use Dragon's King's Rage, and then you use either Flare of Light or Flare of Shadow to unlock Light Mega Flare and Shadow Mega Flare. And then if you have just enough gear, right, you should have maybe just one of her TMR and like a Summer Parasol in your party and your friends, then you can go ahead and use Arc Punisher Burst or Dystopia Burst on turn 2 to start unlocking your triple cast magic for your Bahamut Draconian Princess. She's not Bahamut Fina, Draconian Princess Fina. So a very powerful character. Remember, these skills do a lot of damage. They get multiplier buffs too, right? Light Mega Flare times 5, Shadow Mega Flare times 5. Very, 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 very powerful there. Because this is going to go into it multiple times due to how these skills are. Remember, it's a 2-part skill, so that 5 is actually a 10 times multiplier increase. So she gets a 10 times multiplier increase total from her passives. And then once you get Dragon King's Roar up, that's going to be another 5 times before the mod increase from it being applied twice. So a total of 20 times multiplier increase. On top of that, this means that her unlocked skills, the Shadow and Light Mega Flare, they go from a 47 mod up to a 67 mod with triple cast. So very powerful. We have seen other characters with quadra cast of a little bit lower than that, right? We had access to like Soul, etc., who can like quadra cast like 48 times mod. She's triple casting, you know, 60 something times mod skill. So a very powerful character, Draconian Princess Fina. If you're a Fina fan, if you're a Bahamut fan, and you're looking to a cast and you need a new mage and you want Chaos Wave Awakened, then this is going to be a pretty decent option for you. As far as mages in the future that we know that are coming, we know the other 4 Esper units are coming. We have Tetra Physalis. Okay, I said it right this time, guys. Tetra Physalis, and she's going to be a nice true dual wield magic damage dealer of your choice there. And there's always going to be other mages in the future. But if you're looking for a pretty strong one right now and you need to add one to your roster, she's there for you. With that said, let's go over to Supreme Deva Akstar, aka Supreme Deva Akstar, but he's going to be a very powerful damage dealing physical unit, true double hand, and he's going to never want to stop doing damage. That's pretty much his shtick. He's not quite like the normal Akstar, the original Akstar, where you need to use a bunch of different moves in a certain order to keep your multipliers stacking and increasing and have this giant ramp time, but he never wants to take a break. He doesn't want to guard, he doesn't want to do anything. He wants to do things not really in a certain order, but more over and over and over again. So we'll get into that, you'll understand. His TMR is the Asura Synergy, 60% attack when equipped with a katana, immune to confusion, and then gives you 25% human killer. Pretty basic, but pretty good. Nothing super insane, right? You can put it on him and be happy about it. His STMR is the Quadra Katana, which is going to be the best two-handed katana pretty much in the game. So it's 188 two-handed Katana, 188 attack with 50% attack as a passive, so very strong two-handed katana. If you're going in, you can get this, put it on your boy Akstar if you're a big Akstar fan. If you're a big Asura fan, very strong. Now his weapon selection, you have access to katanas, great swords, swords, and daggers. Armor selection, both hats and helms, okay, as well as clothing and light armor. Now let's get into his skills here. He's gonna have skills that look a little super in-depth when you first look at them. It's like, oh, if you use this skill after you use all these other skills, it unlocks a better version of the skill. What does this all mean? Basically, we're gonna boil it down like this, so it's super simple for you. As you can see, we got Blazing Heat, Polar Vortex, Dark Spike, and every single one of his skills has a buffed version and an unbuffed version, right? And all of these skills, they have pretty much the same requirements, where if you've used one of these other previous skills last turn or before this skill, then you get the better version of the skill. So TLDR real quick, all of these skills that say, if you've used XYZ skill, we get a better version. What are these skills that unlock the better versions? Well, it's easier to go over which skills don't unlock the better versions for you. So we're gonna be doing that. So skills that don't unlock the better versions, we have the first skill, Mirror of Equity Disorder. This one doesn't unlock a better version of a skill. We have 30/combo, which is his Aurora Ray skill, doesn't unlock a better version of any of the other skills. And then all the way down here, we have Forsaken Retaliation Stance, which doesn't really unlock a better version of the skill. Once you know that that's what's going on, then you're going to be pretty well off there. Also, True Mirror of Equity, Asura here doesn't unlock a better version. So basically, 4 of his skills, you're gonna have to use something else in conjunction with them to unlock better versions of skills. Hopefully that helps you out. Basically, as we go through here, we'll be going over the skills, and I will tell you, I will remind you, this does unlock better versions of the skills. So the first one here is Mirror of Equity Disorder. This doesn't unlock any of the better versions of the other skills, but what it does do is, even if you haven't used any of the other skills, it still unlocks triple blade art for 2 turns. All that gets better here, if you've used the unlocked version, is the multiplier goes up a tiny bit, and you get triple cast for 2 turns still. So this is one of those skills you can use to unlock triple cast and start doing other things. The next one here is 30/combo, very small multiplier, 4.5, is Aurora Ray Chaining Frame family. Everything else he does is Absolute Mirror of Equity as his main Chaining Frame family. Then we have these 3 skills, all very similar. We have Blazing Heat Ash, Polar Vortex Frost, and Dark Spike Conquest. These are his main imbuing skills, okay? So the unlocked versions, the normal versions, they just give you 5 turns of the imbue for the respective elements. So Blazing Heat Ash, normal, 5-turn fire imbue. Ice, 5-turn ice imbue. Dark Spike, 5-turn dark imbue. All that the buffed versions do is that the multiplier goes up, right? They kind of get like an extra back-ended hit, right? So it goes from a 3.5 multiplier to a 3.5 multiplier in the first 7 hits, an additional 7 mod on that final hit. Nothing super crazy there, but these do unlock all of the better versions of the skills. So you can use these and just keep going to unlock better versions of each other, or better versions of his other skills that we're about to go over here. So we have Mirror of Equity 3 Evils. This is a skill that does unlock better versions of other skills. In the unlocked version is a 100% Fire, Ice, and Dark Imperil for 5 turns to an enemy. The normal version is an 80% Fire, Ice, and Dark Imperil for 5 turns to enemies. So keep that in mind, but it is a skill that will be unlocking better skills for you. We'll go over all of that too at the end, because I don't want you guys to be confused. He's really not that confusing. He's just really daunting to look at. Now we have Absolute Mirror of Equity Asura here as well. This is going to be one of his mainstay damage dealing skills, and it's with the unlocked version. The unlocked version is a 8-hit skill, Absolute Mirror of Equity. The first 7 hits, 6 times multiplier. The final hit, 24 multiplier. So base 30 multiplier, and any sort of multiplier increase is going to get applied to this 2 times because it's front loaded and back loaded. The unlocked version doesn't have any ramping time to it, so this is where the I want to go, 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 go mentality of Akstar Asura version comes from. You can go in here, you can just, as long as you're doing damage, you're using Absolute Mirror of Equity Asura and one of the other skills to keep this skill fully unlocked, you're going to be doing a good time. Okay, you're going to have a good time out there with Absolute Mirror of Equity Asura. So, with that being said, also, this skill will keep unlocking yourself because the unlocked version is Asura's Absolute Mirror of Equity instead of Absolute Mirror of Equity Asura, and Asura's Absolute Mirror of Equity re-unlocks it. So keep that in mind. Very strong skill. Once it's unlocked by using all of the other skills we talked about, the imbues, the imperils, you're going to have this good to go. You'll be able to spam this until you stop using basically your skills. Now we have his 7-star skills, Face of Carnage, which is one of his big ones here. 5-turn cooldown available on turn 1. Increases physical damage against humans by 200% for 4 turns to the caster, and then gives you triple cast for 5 turns. Now notice he doesn't have a base triple cast. He does start with triple cast on turn 1 though from passive, so you're going to have triple cast on 1, and then you're going to be able to use Face of Carnage to unlock it for 5 more turns, and then you're also going to be able to start doing a bunch of big damage because Face of Carnage is a skill that gives you the better versions of all of the other skills we just went over. So you can use the Face of Carnage on turn 1, then you can use one of the Imbue skills, and then you can use one of the Imperil skills, right? All on turn 1. Then turn 2, you're going to have access to triple cast again because you use Face of Carnage, and because each of these skills that you use Face of Carnage last turn, as well as the Imbue and the Imperil skills, those keep these skills unlocked. You're just gonna, like I said, keep going. You're just gonna keep doing damage. Absolute Mirror of Equity, Absolute Mirror of Equity, Absolute Mirror. You're just gonna keep casting Absolute Mirror of Equity. Don't guard, don't defend, don't do any of that. Just cast your Absolute Mirror of Equity stuff. Now the other cooldown skill we have is Forsaken Retaliation Stance. It's gonna be his sort of like I need to chill out skill. And this is one of those skills that you can use to chill out. So it's a 5-turn cooldown available on 1. He gets 50% general mitigation for 3 turns to the caster. He gets a 5-stack Mirage for 3 turns to the caster. He gets a 250% limit burst damage buff for 2 turns to the caster, and it increases your limit burst gauge by 20. Now his limit burst is a pretty big part of his kit, and that's where like the complexity of Supreme Deva Akstar comes from, because if you use your LB, the last turn you used an LB on the turn afterwards, which means that you haven't used any of these skills to unlock his better versions, but you want to use his limit burst. It's not that big of a downside. It is still really strong. You're going to use your LB, pop it off, and then you're going to pop your triple cast off. And if you start with one of the skills we talked about, the Imbue, the Imperil, any of that stuff, because you've used that skill for your first skill, the other 2 skills you use will be upgraded versions. So keep that in mind. Nothing super crazy. And then finally, we have True Mirror of Equity Asura. So this is going to be at base form, just going to be like a 20 times multiplier. But if the upgraded version is used, which is upgraded from all of the other skills we talked about, the imbues, the imperils, right, all of that stuff, then you're going to have the unlocked version, which is going to give you a 5 times multiplier increase for all of the stuff we talked about prior, including Asura's True Mirror of Equity, which is this big damage dealing skill, right? The 30 times multiplier. This 5 times mod is going to get added in there twice because this is a backloaded and front half chaining skill. So it's going to go up to a 40 times mod, and that's just from this multiplier buff here. So before we get into his passives, we're going to talk about his limit burst. His limit burst here is the 6 Realms Blade, because, you know, this is Asura Akstar, and it's a 34 limit burst crystal costing skill. It does do a pretty sizable amount of damage, 50 mod, 25 times mod with ignore 50% defense, so 50 times mod gives you a 250% attack buff for 6 turns to the caster, and then also gives you a 5 times multiplier increase pretty much to all of his skills that we just talked about. All the good skills we just talked about, 5 times mod increase there. So his main damage dealing skill is going to get a 10 times mod increase from this skill. So you want to get this skill off. And because the LB damage modifier on this is a 50 times mod, remember, we have a 250% limit burst damage buff from Forsaken Retaliation Stance. So if you want to get a nice big chunky, I almost said sunky, chunky burst added to his limit burst, because you want to use the limit burst anyway, the turn before you LB, you're going to fit Forsaken Retaliation Stance into whatever the 3 skills you're casting are, then you're going to LB, and then you're going to start going from there. So very strong kit for this character, especially that 250% LB damage buff for the burst, and then the 200% Man-Eater buff as well. Now we also have the passives to go over. He does have 200% base True Double Hand, very powerful. He also has a 75% base Man-Eater, very nice there. 30% base dodge, so that could help you out, could not really matter. He does have a 100% chance to ignore the first fatal attack each time. He's 20% resistant to fire, ice, and dark. He also is immune to petrify, paralysis, and sleep. Outside of that, he does have 50% high tide, 2 LB gauge crystals per turn, 10% MP recovery, and he does start with Asura's Aid, which gives you triple cast as soon as the battle starts or when he is revived. As far as attack goes, he does kind of want to have a katana on. It gives him 50% attack and 50% defense. So very powerful to have a katana on him. You could make up for it, but his katana is just so strong. The only time you really wouldn't want to use a katana is if you don't have a two-handed katana, but you do have a two-handed greatsword. That's going to be super, super, super strong for you there. Also keep in mind, if you're not using a katana, you're going to be losing out on his Trust Master passive here, which gives you, thankfully, no attack, no defense, but it gives you the triple cast. So that's what really kind of locks you and solidifies the fact that you need a katana on, because his TMR is 60% attack only if you have a katana, and his super TMR is a katana. So either you're wearing a katana or you have a dead materia slot that's giving you no attack because you're not wearing a katana. So TLDR, put a katana on him. The chances of you having the ability to cap out your attack percent, but you don't have a two-handed katana, are super slim. There are going to be some people out there who have that, right? They have the 190 attack Buster Sword, they have the upgrade packages, but they don't have a two-handed katana, and this could be better for them. They just cap it out, put their materia slot anyway, throw his TMR in there, and call it a day. But the vast majority of you guys are not going to be doing that. As far as other stats, he's got 50%, 90%, 120% attack without any sort of katana bonus. If you have the katana, it's going to be 170% attack there. And he's got some HP, defense, MP, and spirit paths sprinkled in, but nothing super insane. It's not like super tanky, super bulky, or anything of that nature. We're talking like 40% HP, 20% spirit. Let's get a little bit of defense there with 70% with a katana equipped in total. But that's going to be Asura Akstar. TLDR, just so we talk about it once again so you guys aren't too confused, right? We have the 4 skills that don't really upgrade anything, which is the normal Mirror of Equity Disorder, okay? But once you change it into Asura's Mirror of Equity Disorder, that's going to be a skill that's good to go for you. So once you have this upgraded, it will unlock another skill, but the upgraded version does not. 30/ combo never upgrades anything for you. And then we have access to Forsaken Retaliation stance that doesn't unlock anything for you either. And then we have True Mirror of Equity Asura that also doesn't unlock anything for you either. So keep that in mind. All the Asura skills, once you have these unlocked, they're good to go. But once you don't have them unlocked, it's super confusing. Once you have the unlocked version from casting like Forsaken Retaliation stance, then you're going to be able to keep everything upgraded, keep everything unlocked with his skills. And pretty much the only one that doesn't unlock anything is 30/ combo, because it doesn't really upgrade, right? If you're looking at these Blazing Skill Ash Asura, the very end, TLDR, the fastest way to know if a skill is going to unlock something for you is if it has this what is this thing? Parentheses AS at the end is not going to unlock anything for you. So almost all of his skills will not unlock anything for you. Basically, you have to Face of Carnage, right? You have to Face of Carnage, and then once you Face of Carnage, this will unlock all of your skills, and then you'll have access to all of the unlocked versions, and those unlocked versions will re-unlock everything as long as you're using at least one of them every single turn. Hopefully that makes sense for you guys out there, because it can be a little bit daunting. I think I lost probably like 95% of my audience. Everyone unsubscribed because this character, I was like, it's not that confusing, and it's super confusing. It's really not that confusing. Basically, the skills that will keep everything re-unlocked when you're using him, it's going to be much easier than when we're looking at the screen here, because you'll use his cooldown skill, Face of Carnage. It's going to change the names of all your skills. They're going to look very similar, and basically this parentheses AS at the end, which is parentheses Asura, this is going to go away, and the parentheses AS is going to disappear, and Asura is going to come up at the front part of the skill name. And that's going to, as long as you're using one of your main entitled Asura skills, will keep everything unlocked for you. So easier to use in practice than he is, you know, as we're talking about him in a review here for you guys. You're going to use Face of Carnage of Hatred, and then you're just going to keep going. That's like I said at the very start, he just wants to keep going and going and going and going and going. And before Carnage of Hatred comes back up. That's when you use your LB damage buff, and then you limit burst, and then you Face of Carnage again, and then you keep using all of your unlocked skills and have all your limit burst damage buffs up and ready to go. So hopefully that makes a little more sense to you. Supreme Deva Akstar, very strong character, probably going to be, you know, too confusing for some people. People just don't like those characters. A lot of people, me included, like using characters where it's like, I use a buff, I do a bunch of damage, I jump in the air, I land and do a bunch of damage, I pentacast and use a chain finisher, and then I limit burst and do a bunch of damage. And I like those characters too, very simple to use, no reason to make fights more hectic. If you do think that these characters are too hectic to use in some fights, I totally agree with that, and a lot of people are going to be passing on him for that reason. Now, as far as do you need Supreme Deva Akstar, now you can pass on him. He's a damage dealer. Every damage dealer, just use your favorite ones nowadays. That's where we are in the field of Brave Exvius. Just use whoever your favorites are. We all know Esther's getting enhanced. No one's watching this video and no one wants damage. We have Sylvie and Esther enhancements, which if you want to see my opinion on those things, we're having that as well this weekend. Very strong. But if you did watch this video, I appreciate it a bunch. I know a lot of you guys out there watch the videos just because you want to support the channel. You want to hear my ramblings and thoughts about all of the characters. But two very strong characters, but just like everything else, they're two damage dealers. You guys can use pretty much whatever damage dealers you want nowadays. So very strong. If you're looking for a new one, don't need them though, is how I'm going to end this. So thank you guys so much for supporting the channel, coming and hanging out. Hopefully you found the banner review good to go for you. I know it's a little lengthy, but they are a little complicated, and I always try to get as much information for you guys. But if you want to see more stuff on the channel, go ahead, hit the sub button, turn the notification bell on, because if you don't, YouTube's not going to notify you. But until then, guys, stay safe out there. Thank you for the support on Patreon, as well as you YouTube channel members. Fantastic people, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.